Really excited about today's video. I'm going to be sharing 5 things that you ought to know when it comes to caring for your McColley's finale. This is a beautiful philodendron plant, one of my favorites, and I am so excited to report to you all that this beautiful plant has 3 blooms. They're not in bloom, but currently at the moment, but I'll explain some of the details about that. But there are 3 gorgeous, basically, flower buds, whatever you want to call them, on this thing. Now, just some insight into how crazy this actually is. In order for this to happen, you have to have a mature plant, which I obviously do here, and it takes approximately, get this, 16 years and a mature plant before it will put out these gorgeous these gorgeous buds and flowers. I'll be sure to throw up a picture of what it looks like when it's open. It's absolutely stunning. I can't believe this has happened. And I'll touch on that and obviously get to the 5 things you ought to know when it comes to caring for these beautiful plants. So stick with me. All right, guys, I just wanted to give you a close-up here of the of what I mentioned at the onset of this video, these beautiful buds and flowers on my McColley's finale. Very exciting. I hope you can get a good look. And like I said, I'll throw up a photo of what it looks like when it's nice and open. And that typically happens in the evening time, and propagating these is obviously involved with, the flower and the bud, but I'm not going to be touching on any of that in this video. I really want to get down to those 5 things that you ought to know, but stay tuned definitely for some future content on that. So excited that I have a mature McColley's finale as a part of my plant collection. Honestly, one of my most beloved and favorite plants of all time. So there you go. That's what they look like. And let's jump into this video. Thanks for checking out this video. I'm Tyler. If you like what you're seeing or you find this video to be useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, or better yet, you can hit that subscribe button. Now, to really show me some love, click on the bell for alerts and notifications for future content. Oh yeah, don't forget to check out my merch store, tylermossop.com. All right, guys, as you can see, I hope this does it justice. This houseplant is really quite large. Now, I don't actually have this thing staked up just yet, but because the stem is so thick, it's just on an upward trajectory as it is. And actually, I wanted to repot this today. I just don't think this is like a multiple person job at this point. I have picked out a new container, slightly larger. It's gonna work out all great. It's just not gonna happen today. But the first thing you ought to know when it comes to caring for just generally philodendron, especially if you have a McColley's finale, is the soil mix that I like to use. Now, I like to use mostly orchid mix. I will throw in some perlite as well as some peat moss in there as well, but it's usually like, I would say about a 3 or 4 to 1 ratio when it comes to the orchid mix being the larger component and peat moss and perlite being the smaller component. And I do have a tendency to use containers that have good drainage, built-in saucers, and maybe even throw in some horticultural charcoal at the base of the planter. That helps absorb any excess moisture. But really, the first thing you ought to know is the right type of soil and the correct mix and the ratios and all of that, which is what I just explained. The second thing you ought to know when it comes to caring for these plants is light. Now, I have mine in a really sort of, key location in my home where it gets really good direct morning sunlight, which tends to be okay. It's less intense direct light. So this plant really appreciates that filtered morning direct light, and I think that's part of why it's just doing so well. Otherwise, throughout the course of the day, really good bright and direct light is best. Now, the third thing you ought to know when it comes to these plants is watering and how to water them. I water these throughout the course of the year, just basically by putting my fingers into the topsoil, into that bark mix that I use. And if it's, the top inch or two are dry, I like to give it a really, really healthy watering, and then, just observe, sit back, watch it for a couple of days to a week, and then just repeat that test again and see if it needs to be watered again if that top inch or two are dry. I just can't get over these blooms. Insane, insane, insane. So like I said, really pumped to repot this and stake it up so it can just continue to grow and take over. The cool thing with McColley's Finale is, as you can see, there's a new leaf here ready to unfurl. They come in kind of this really sort of deep, almost like wine color, and as over time, as the plant grows and those leaves become more less new, I've been around for a minute, they start to go green, and you end up with a plant that has these beautiful dark red basically stems with the new foliage, basically that cool color. And then over time, as I said, they go that green color. So just absolutely love this plant. Prince of Orange, have one of those as well. It's very similar to this, but the leaves look slightly different. And I've done a whole bunch of videos, so definitely check out, I compare those two plants, Prince of Orange versus McColley's Finale, and done, like I said, a lot of content, so you have to check out some of those videos as well. But yeah, let's jump into some of those other things you ought to know. I was just looking at mine, and before starting filming this video, I did wipe down some of the foliage, and I think anytime you have really big, large plants with large leaves that have a lot of surface area on them, one thing that you will definitely need to do is clean the leaves with a damp paper towel or cloth. So that's a good thing you ought to know, is definitely wipe those leaves off so the leaves can photosynthesize all of the light, and even rotate it around also truly helps to keep it kind of balanced and well rounded, really. So the fourth thing you ought to know when it comes to, again, generally philodendron, especially your McColley's Finale, is fertilization. And it's really important. Philodendron definitely need to be fertilized. It's really critical and crucial to fertilize them. Now, especially in the growing season, I like to use a well-balanced diluted liquid fertilizer, and I go in there probably every couple of weeks, if not once a month, throughout the growing season, and just give it the fertilizer that it needs. Super, super important that you do that and that you kind of keep on it. Otherwise, your philodendron just won't thrive and flourish. Last but definitely not least, the fifth thing you ought to know when it comes to caring for your McColley's Finale and philodendron just generally is humidity. These guys love it, they need it, so it's really important that you're providing them with, ideally 60% humidity as best as you can. Of course, if you live somewhere where you get the pleasure of enjoying winter, it's going to be really important to keep an eye on that throughout the course of the winter, when it can be and have a tendency to be even more dry, the air. So by putting this guy close to a humidifier, by picking up a hygrometer, which will give you a digital readout of the humidity level in your room or in the area, it will allow you to really kind of keep an eye on how much humidity there is in the air and kind of react accordingly with humidifiers. So super important that you're keeping an eye on the humidity levels for your philodendron. Now, I just want to say I absolutely love this plant. I know I've said that a few times. The blooms are just really the icing on the cake at this point, but definitely share your thoughts and opinions. How do you care for your McColley's Finale? Have you noticed any recent changes? Is yours growing just as big as mine? And are you lucky enough to have any blooms on it or flowers? Absolutely insane, but leave your comments down below. I love to help people with their philodendron and any of their houseplants. So if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, definitely shoot me a message and I'll be happy to get back to you. But I think that's gonna be it for this video. see you guys soon. Well, that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. Definitely give this video a thumbs up, or better yet, you can hit that subscribe button. Miss you guys already. Until the next one.